get into this. Hello and welcome to another episode of Thoughts Shared Souls Bared. I am Katie.
And I'm Jill.
And today we're going to be discussing underrated musicals. But before we get into that, we have quite a bit of Broadway news to bring you. This week has been weirdly busy in terms of Broadway, which we should first mention. Over the weekend, this comes out Monday. So it was, at this point, it'll have been like a week and a half for you. But the last time we recorded, we didn't know who the new president was going to be. I mean, we knew, but we didn't know who the new president was going to be.
I had faith.
We had faith. But this is the first time we were recording since it was officially announced.
And he just won Arizona, too. So.
Yes, he just won.
Officially won Georgia, so...
He did. Has it been called?
It's official.
They're doing recounts now, aren't they?
It was just called, like 30 minutes ago I saw it.
I need to see this.
I don't know if that was like official, but I saw it on Twitter.
So I heard they're doing recounts.
A good amount of news. Yeah.
Obviously, Jill and... Oh, yep, there it is. 306 to 232 on New York Times. I've been going off New York Times the entire time. But yes, Jill and I are very excited.
Yeah, I've been doing New York Times and Associated Press.
Jill and I are very excited that Joe Biden will be the new president of the United States. Obviously, work's not done. We still have to push for more progressive policies, but this is a step in the right direction.
And quick note, if you are in the state of Georgia and you turn 18 by January 5th, you are still eligible to vote in the runoff election. So please make sure that you are registered if you are going to be 18 by January 5th.
Yes. Please, please, please get things back into working order in this country.
Out, because let's not let him be the majority anymore. I'm so sick of it.
We cannot have Mitch McConnell determining the future of this country.
I'm ashamed that I am from Kentucky.
Yes, but the thing is, you did not vote for him.
I did not vote for him. Not at all. I swear to God.
Good. That's what's necessary.
Yes.
You did your part, but yes, we are very excited about this. We're having people who care about the arts back in the White House, back in the government, which is what we need, especially now, because obviously the arts are exponentially affected by this pandemic. And so this is a step in the right direction. We have hope, we have faith, and it's looking like things might start to turn around. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I'm going to the inauguration, so we'll see what.
You are?
I am. My friend from Vegas is actually planning on booking a flight, and we're going to get an Airbnb in Northern Virginia. So I'm going to drive out and I'm going to meet her, and we're going to go to the inauguration together. Hopefully it'll work out and we can. I'm really excited. If not, I'm going to force my roommate to go with me so I can stay with her family. And I'll just go and meet up with someone.
I would kill to go to the inauguration, but like it's always like, oh, you've got to email your senators. Guess what? My senator is becoming the vice president, so
right.
I could email Dianne Feinstein, but I don't know how far I'd get with that. But yeah, my senator Kamala Harris is going to be the first female vice president of the United States, first person of color as vice president of the United States. I'm very, very excited. Obviously, we have our own opinions of her, but it's very exciting that things are stepping into the right direction.
Yes, obviously we aren't like wholeheartedly like these people are nothing else. Like we definitely are aware of the issues with the two people who are going to be put in office, but we're excited for the future and what it holds for what's to come.
Yes, absolutely. Step in the right direction.
Yes.
But so that's country news. That's world news. Let's see what's going on in Broadway. So I think something that really, really shocked me is that apparently NBC is going through with a live musical this year.
I don't want to discuss that.
We have to. It's The Grinch, starring Matthew Morrison as said Grinch.
If
And it's
you've
the
ever
musical
met me,
version.
yes, if you've ever met me, you know that I prefer a Fox Live musical, because I think that
Really?
they, Grease Live is the best live musical to ever hit television in the West.
I agree with that.
Grease Live was the best one to happen. The Wiz was not bad though. I will say that I loved the Wiz Live. I think it was pretty good considering it was still not great, but it was pretty good considering the other NBC live musicals that had happened. But I don't know what compelled NBC to do this, because I said on my own social media, no one really asked for this, but NBC did it anyway. And
Here's the thing, is they did it after there was the whole like snafu with Rent, where everyone was like, this is never going to happen again.
yeah.
Then I feel like something come out between Rent and this? Has there been anything?
Not that I can remember, no. Because, well, what happened with Rent, I have my own opinions of it, because I think that despite what happened with it, I still enjoyed it. I'm going to say that right now. I still enjoyed Rent Live, despite, all the issues with it. Because, and Rent was Fox, not NBC, too.
Oh, it was?
So, like, yeah. But I liked Rent because I think that the cast was so good. I think that like that cast was so well.
I think it was perfectly cast. I do think it was perfectly cast.
And I really enjoyed it. And I think that they could have done it as a concert, like how a lot of people were saying it should have just been like music stands in a concert, like how, it was first originally done after Jonathan Larson's death. But I will say that I liked it. I liked Rent Live. I don't care if that's unpopular. I had fun watching it.
I had a couple friends that I know that were at that dress rehearsal when what's his name? Brennan Hunt broke his ankle or his foot or whatever happened.
I will say this too. I was so irritated with the amount of people on social media blaming him. That made me so angry. I was like, guys, that stuff happens. I'm sorry, but it happens. People break bones. Things like that happen in a dress rehearsal. There's not really much you can do. And everyone was like, well, they should have had like an understudy. But it's like, you're doing the show once, you don't expect to need an understudy.
Exactly.
It's not like, from a producer standpoint, that's not necessary when going into casting for something like this, especially as big of a scale as it is. And so I think that what happened, and I think that it was fine. I think that the audience needed to chill out a little bit, but other than that, I thought it was fun to watch. I thought that the audience overpowered the singers a lot of the time. But
I enjoyed it. Rent is a show that means a lot to me, as it was part of my formative theater education. My poster, which if you're watching the YouTube version, I've got a poster right behind me. It is 11 years old, almost 12 years old. Girl, yeah, I know. You're telling me. That's how long ago it was when I saw it. I was I definitely saw Rent when I was too young. I experienced Rent when I was not emotionally mature enough to see it. I was 13. My like I knew what was going on. I kind of could understand it, but it would have meant a lot more if I had seen it at like an older age when I could understand more of what goes into it. Doesn't mean I didn't love it. Still loved it. But anyway, so they're making The Grinch live, and Matthew Morrison is going to be the Grinch, and sure, that's fine. However, Boo Boo Stewart is going to be young Max, and him. I think that is perfection. I think that is perfect casting.
I think he is adorable. Like, I love watching Boo Boo Stewart do anything. Like, every time I watch Descendants, I'm just like, my eyes are immediately drawn to him. Like, I love watching him. He is so good.
I'm very excited because obviously I'm going to watch it. I'm not a fan
of Matthew Morrison. I'm going to say that. I don't.
I'm indifferent towards him. I truly don't care.
As someone who grew up with like Glee and everything, I
him,
and I loved him in my childhood. I thought he was the greatest thing on the planet. But it's like the same thing I felt about Neil Patrick Harris when I was younger and watching How I Met Your Mother, and I was like, oh my god, Neil Patrick Harris is the most incredible person on the planet. And now as an adult, I've learned things about both of those people, and I've learned a lot of things about Matthew Morrison. I'm not a fan of him. I think that he is very uncomfortable. He makes me very uncomfortable. And I don't see how he's gonna pull off the Grinch, because I don't think he's animated enough to play the Grinch. I think that is a very particular role, and I think that he's like succeeding Patrick Page and Jim Carrey and Gavin Lee, and I think that's like an insane shoe to fill for a role like that.
Fun fact, I saw the Grinch, the musical version of the Grinch, actually probably 11 years ago. I think it was 2000, it was 2009. And John Larroquette was my Grinch. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he kind of had that like dry kind of, I think it worked for him because it was more like the cartoon type rather than as animated physically like Jim Carrey is. So I think it worked. And then literally like 3 years later, John Larroquette won a Tony for How to Succeed. So, you know.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen the musical Grinch. Like, I don't remember seeing it. If I did, I honestly don't know. But like, I mean, I grew up with the movie, with both of the movies. I don't like the cartoon movie, but
okay. I'm so glad I'm not the only person who feels this way. I don't like the Grinch. I don't like this. I don't care for the story. The cartoon drawings make me uncomfy. I do not like the Grinch. I'm not a fan of like anything Dr. Seussy. I do think Cat in the Hat.
My mom hates Dr. Seuss.
It's like, I'm fine with the stories, I'm fine with the books, but do not put it in a cartoon form. I feel the same way about Peanuts. I will not watch anything Peanuts related. It bothers. I don't know why.
Oh wait,
it just bothers me.
Peanuts stuff. I don't know. It depends on what it is though. Like, I'm very picky about like what Peanuts
like
movies.
Charlie Brown.
I love the
no,
Christmas
get
one.
it out of
I
me.
love Charlie Brown Christmas.
No,
but that's the only
get
one
it
I
away.
really watch. I don't really like any of the other ones. I don't know.
I just, there's something about it. I'm just like, I don't like this. I think it's because they were drawn in that same time, and this might be me just speaking out of my ass right now, but it almost feels unfinished. Like they were rushing to get it done. It kind of like how the Disney movies Robin Hood and 101 Dalmatians.
Well, those are also way older than.
Yeah. Well, not the Grinch. The Grinch is way old too.
That's.
But you know how it's like it just feels rushed and not complete finished.
Well, I love Robin Hood.
I loved Robin Hood when I was a kid too, but now I can't watch it. It just looks so bad to me. It's like the same reason why I can't watch the original Toy Story. It looks so unfinished. It bothers me.
I'm just not a Toy Story fan.
I like Toy Story 2. I love Toy Story 3.
Second one. I love the second one. The
second one.
Jesse's in it.
Jessie. Mm-hmm. Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4. Unnecessary. Not necessary.
I was
Toy Story 3 wrapped up in such a nice bow. And then they were like, oh, you know, we'll only come back if there's a story that needs to be told. I'm like, that's a story that needed to be told?
You could have done shorts like what they do with like Frozen. Like you could have done like little shorts like with Olaf and stuff. You could do it with like Bonnie and the toys. And like you could have introduced Forky in a short film.
Yeah, I do like Forky though. I think that
Forky was the best part of that movie. Oh my God, I loved him.
Trash.
I was like, he was written for like people our age.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so our humor. It's so awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that end of millennial, beginning of Gen Z kind of humor. That 10-year period where no one really knows what's going on.
It's like Olaf and Frozen 2. Like it's the same humor as Olaf and Frozen 2. Because I didn't like Olaf in the first Frozen. But then Frozen 2 came out and he got on that screen and I was like, this is the man I'm rooting for in this movie.
He became so self-aware.
I loved it. But like Evan and I were laughing because we were talking about how we weren't going to watch the live action Lion King. We had no interest in watching the live action Aladdin. We had no interest in watching Toy Story 4. And then one night we watched all three and hated all of them.
Oh my God. See, I haven't seen, I don't care. I don't watch any of the live action like remakes that Disney does. I saw Cinderella in theaters. Didn't care for it. I saw.
Whoa. Wait.
Well, okay, I'm not the biggest Cinderella fan. I'm not you.
No, but like that's the thing is a lot of my friends aren't either, but then they saw that one and they're like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Maybe I need to rewatch it, but I truly
so
didn't care.
good.
I don't like an abundance of CGI.
Cinderella
So when everything
is the least amount though out of the other ones.
maybe, but it's still so heavy. And like
It's
and
Disney,
and then seeing Beauty and the Beast, it was
Oh.
the most visually repulsive thing I've ever seen in my life.
Beauty and the Beast. I hated that one.
And then
Absolutely hated it.
like everyone was all hot and bothered over whether or not Emma Stone could sing. That's not even something I even clocked. I was so
Emma Watson.
What did I say?
Emma Stone.
Oh, Emma Watson. I was like, there's so many Emmas. Everybody was so hot and bothered over whether or not Emma Watson could sing, and I didn't even think about it because of how disgusting everything looked. Like,
I walked out of that theater after seeing the live action Beauty and the Beast, and I said the best part is the same thing I feel is the best part of all the original Beauty and the Beast stuff is Gaston, and I stand by that. I don't care what anybody thinks. I love Gaston. I love a villain. Like that's what it is I love a good villain. And Gaston is one of the greatest villains in all of Disney because he is exactly what you don't want in a man. And he lets it be known that he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think Gaston's the way that he is written is brilliant.
However, Cruella de Vil is the best villain in all of Disney history because
I can't watch 101 Dalmatians, can't watch
Have you seen the live action one though with Glenn Close? Yes,
years ago.
She's so good.
There's parts that I cannot watch. But there's oh my god, just like I can't watch because I had nightmares when I was a kid with Lady and the Tramp. Those Siamese cats terrified me.
That's valid. I'll give you that one.
Even now, however many years later, 21 years later, I still can't watch it.
Really?
Yeah, it's just those things, those things, just like I can't listen to songs. There are some songs that I cannot listen to. One of them is the and if that mockingbird don't sing, that song.
Oh, yeah.
I would have breakdowns every time I heard that song. It still is a song.
I can't listen to most of Bruno Mars's early discography.
Oh, why?
Because it reminds me of middle school.
Oh my god.
I had a lot of issues in middle school. And I don't know what it is, but like a lot of his earlier music, I can listen to it if it's like covers. But if it's like Bruno Mars singing like Grenade or something, I literally will have a panic attack.
Oh my god.
I don't know what it is. There's just something about it. There's a lot of music from like that era though that like I just can't listen to because of that reason. But the Bruno Mars is one that hits different. I don't know what it is. But I love Bruno Mars's new music though. I love all his other stuff. Just not early.
I saw Bruno Mars in concert right after I graduated high school.
Really? I've heard he's really good because my friend was obsessed.
That concert was great.
Yeah, she saw him. She loved it. We should probably talk about Broadway news.
Absolutely, but it's fine. Again, so another thing, they're doing the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year still.
Yeah, they announced that months ago, and they said they're doing a hybrid.
Yes. So what they're doing, what I understood from what I read is, so every year the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is broadcast on both CBS and NBC. Both of those show different musicals. So NBC performs in front, or the musicals that are shown on NBC, they perform in front of the Macy's on 34th Street.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones on CBS, they perform in their theaters.
But it's pre-recorded usually.
Yes. And so I think that like CBS version is what's going to be happening this year.
Yes.
Correct?
So what it is this is really funny because you mentioned that they do two different, like each one does different shows. In my house, we have the kitchen TV is one channel and the living room TV is another one, so I don't miss anything. And
I just record them both.
That too, like we usually do that. So I love the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It is the highlight of my year. I love the parade. It's the only part of Thanksgiving I enjoy. So I watch it every single year. I love it. And I have since I was a kid. It's just like my favorite thing. But I'm not too thrilled about this. I'm not too thrilled about this news. I'm going to be honest with you. I was excited that they were still going to be doing the parade. And I was like, as long as I can get my Broadway shows, that's fine. But the fact that 3 out of 4 of those shows have already performed and one of them has already performed twice, kind of.
Which one has performed twice?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls performed twice?
Mm-hmm. NBC one year, CBS the next.
That's interesting. So the shows that are going to be,
if I remember correctly, that's what I remember. But like, I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that.
But we have Hamilton, Mean Girls, Jagged Little Pill, and Ain't Too Proud.
Yes.
The only one that's from the season is Jagged Little Pill. All of these other shows opened
because Tina did
seasons
last
ago.
year. Tina performed last year. That's the
other one. That's right.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and so
I thought you were talking about Tina Fey. I was like, Tina Fey and Mean Girls performed last year? I do not remember this.
Can you imagine though? That would be so funny.
I'm like, was she on a float? Was she just like lip syncing like all the other ones? What are you talking about?
But like because you know my opinions about Hamilton. That's not what this is about. This isn't about me not liking the show.
Jill isn't the biggest fan of Hamilton, and that's fine. And I am a giant fan of Hamilton. I've tried.
I will say that. I have tried Hamilton. I enjoyed listening to it when I was in high school when it first came out. I really enjoyed listening to it. But then I just like kind of fell out of it and I didn't really care as much. I appreciate what it did for theater. I will say that. But there's a lot of issues within the show that I don't like. There's a lot of issues within the culture of the show that I don't like. There's a lot of just different things I don't like about it. Not a big fan. I've seen it a couple times on Disney Plus. I thought it was boring to watch. I'm gonna say that right now. I enjoyed most of the performances though. I just thought it was really boring. But
me with Waitress.
Which is valid because I do know a lot of people that feel the same way. And I don't know, like that's not what this is about though. It's not me just not liking the shows because I love Ain't Too Proud and I'm thrilled to watch it again, like to watch their performance again. But I just feel like having Mean Girls again and having Hamilton again is a little bit of overkill because usually the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is a way, it's kind of like how the Tonys are. It's like a way for you guys, like for people to see the show and like get excited about coming to see it. And it's like, does Hamilton really need that? And does Mean Girls really need that?
Well, I think the reason that...
Because Ain't Too Proud defo does. I'm going to say that. I feel like Ain't Too Proud needs it.
Yeah, and I think people will love that it's Ain't Too Proud. But the thing is, I think one of the reasons Hamilton is doing it is because they did have it come out on Disney Plus. So it's kind of like
that's my point, though. Like, that's what I'm saying is it's like...
it's easier for people to digest those shows, especially Hamilton, because you can watch a pro shot of it, because we don't know when Broadway's coming back.
Right.
And so you see their
point is it's like you can watch Hamilton anytime you want, and you have that at your hands anytime you want until Broadway comes back. But then it's like shows like, I mean, Jagged Little Pill, I'm so excited that they're performing. I think that's great. I think that's a perfect idea because I love seeing performances that are more like the shows that are a little bit more stripped down and kind of don't really have like this huge stage set like piece to them. I mean, granted, they're going to be performing in their theater, but I always love seeing shows that are a little bit more stripped down.
Even then, that show is still a little stripped down.
Right. And so like I love seeing performances from shows like that because it's so different. Like, because usually you get shows like Lion King that perform and it's like this huge spectacle, and then you have like Jagged Little Pill, which is like this stripped down show, and I think that's really interesting. But I don't know, I
will say I do like the variety that we're getting.
Yeah, there is a good variety.
And I think that it's going to suit all of the different tastes.
Yeah.
Like Mean Girls is very much like modern Broadway. Hamilton is the juggernaut. Jagged Little Pill gives you the jukebox musical without it being about Alanis Morissette, and then Ain't You Proud gives you the story of the Temptations, which like everybody loves the Temptations.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. But okay, so there's something else that I saw either today or yesterday. Okay, it must have been like yesterday. Ticketmaster is doing this new thing.
Yes, I saw
where they have plans to check your vaccine status before you are able to go into a venue for a show.
You have to be tested negative, and you have to do like I'm pretty sure you have to do like daily check-ins. I think I saw that somewhere. I'm not sure where I saw it, but I remember seeing that somewhere on Facebook or Twitter on like an article saying that you had to do like daily check-ins for like a week up until the date of the concert or show or whatever you're saying through Ticketmaster.
Okay, so this is from Billboard.com. Monday's news that the pharmaceutical company Pfizer's early results on a new COVID-19 vaccine showed 90% efficacy rate on an initial clinical trial have given concert professionals hope that the business can start mounting a return in 2021. As part of that preparation, Ticketmaster has been working on a framework for post-pandemic fan safety that uses smartphones to verify fans' vaccination status or whether they've been tested negative for the coronavirus within a 24 to 72 hour window.
Okay,
yeah. Many details of the plan, which is still in development phase, will rely on 3 separate components: the Ticketmaster digital ticket app, third-party health information companies like Clear Health Pass or IBM's Digital Health Pass, and testing and vaccine distribution providers like LabCorp and the CVS Minute Clinic. So after you purchase a ticket for the concert, fans would need to verify that they have already been vaccinated, which would provide approximately 1 year of COVID-19 protection, or test negative for coronavirus approximately 24 to 72 hours prior to the concert. So this is really interesting. I think this is fascinating. However, the idea of testing negative, I feel like obviously this is a tricky subject to even talk about.
Yeah.
Because, it's so world sweeping right now. And we don't know how vaccines are going to be available or whatnot. I'm assuming they're not going to start putting tickets they're not going to start mounting productions of concerts or whatnot until there is a large number of vaccines available.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, we're going to have to wait and see what this means and how this works, because it still says it's in early development.
Right. And they're trying to get it pushed, I think by the end of the year, trying to get it pushed to be able to get it to distribute. They said by the end of 2020, they want to have, is it FDA? Yeah, FDA.
The FDA approval?
Approval, yeah. Which is huge.
And that's great
for a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of things.
Absolutely. But I thought that was so interesting. And that's not something that I would have, actually, no, it is something I thought about way back at the beginning of the pandemic, but it isn't something I've thought about because in my head, I assumed live entertainment wasn't going to come back until 70% of Americans are vaccinated, or however many, until the cases drastically drop because of a vaccine. So I just assumed it wouldn't come back. But if you're coming and saying that, you have to get tested, you have to get vaccines, I think it's interesting. And obviously there's a lot that goes into that. But I think that the fact that these companies are thinking about this and are putting plans into place is a great step. Obviously, these companies are not making any money right now.
Right.
Which
my thing is it's right now it's just Ticketmaster that's put that in place, but I do know, and I don't use Ticketmaster as much because I go in for a ticket that costs $150 and I end up spending almost $300.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's they can't possibly have, I don't want to assume their business model, but like they charge so much in fees
Much.
that who knows how much they had banked away.
Right. And so as of right now, it's just Ticketmaster that's put out an official statement about it. But I do know that like a lot of Broadway people, like a lot of people in the theater industry alone have said like, you know, there's no way that this is coming back until there's a vaccine. So I do know that there is a lot of discussion in the theater industry about the vaccine being necessary to even think about reopening, which is very important. I think that that is so crucial to the idea of Broadway coming back. Like you have to have the vaccine in place and be readily available to anybody in order for it to happen.
And I'm wondering if Telecharge is going to follow suit, because Telecharge handles the ticket processing for, I think, Schubert theaters, whereas Ticketmaster handles for Niederlander theaters. Yeah. And I think that,
and then
I'm not sure.
Tickets needing to have something in place and things like that. So
Today Ticks and TDF and even like the nonprofit theaters. I can't recall how Roundabout does it, and I don't know how who runs the Friedman? How these nonprofit theaters do it. I don't know how Disney does it. I don't know.
Disney, I believe, is through Ticketmaster.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. And because like I know Disney on Ice is through Ticketmaster, so I would assume that like the other theatrical things are as well.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't remember how Vivian Beaumont does it through Lincoln Center.
Oh yeah, I don't.
But
honestly don't know.
MTC, that's who runs the Friedman, I think.
Yeah, I believe.
So these nonprofit theaters that don't necessarily always go through. Not that Disney is not nonprofit. No. By the way, no. Disney's not nonprofit, but the American Airlines, the Friedman, technically the Stephen Sondheim is run by Roundabout, then Studio 54, and the Vivian Beaumont. Those are all like the nonprofit theaters that are on Broadway. So we'll have to wait and see. It's truly just a waiting game at this point.
Yeah.
As we wait for vaccines to become readily available, as cases skyrocket. So, but it's good to see how that's being put in place. And then I'm just so curious as to how touring houses are gonna do the same.
Well, and I know that like with Actors Equity, they are absolutely pushing for a vaccine. Because I've been keeping up with them since the beginning of all of this, because the whole scandal with Tootsie towards the beginning of the shutdown, or the Tootsie national tour.
I was like, what happened with Tootsie? It hasn't been on Broadway since in quite some time. But I know about the tour.
They're little.
Yeah, I know about the tour.
Equity.
How they went from equity to, oops, sorry, we cast you non-equity now. Bye.
And to equity, literally, well, because equity forbid them from doing the tour unless they were non-equity, because equity was like, we are not putting people in danger. There is absolutely no way. And they did that publicly before telling Tootsie, I believe, from what I remember hearing, is that they did it in a public press release, basically banning Tootsie from being equity. But anyways, I've been keeping up with Actors Equity a lot since the beginning of the shutdown. So I do know that they've been pushing hugely for a vaccine. So
are they going to like require all the actors to be vaccinated in order to
most likely
have a job?
I guarantee that. Oh yeah. I mean, you kind of would have to, like, unless there was some reason you absolutely could not be, because I do know that that happens a lot. Like, like there's no other way that you would be able to do it with how intense COVID is. So
yeah, because you don't want to put the audience in danger. You don't want to put your musicians in danger. You don't want to put your fellow actors in danger or your stagehands, anybody. We don't want to put anybody in danger. Right. That's why Broadway will be the last thing to come back, because it's truly a public health threat
Like
which
told
sucks.
everyone, I'm like, the minute I knew that this was serious was the minute Broadway shut down, and then I knew that nothing would be normal,
Quote unquote.
in quotes, because nothing's ever going to be normal again. But I knew that I wouldn't be able to get back to my normal until Broadway opens again, because that's when I know that things are going to be safer than they are now.
Yeah. So is there any other Broadway news that we skimmed over?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Oh, actually, unfortunately, yesterday morning, as we're recording this, at the Winter Garden, a stagehand fell to his ultimate death while taking down the Beetlejuice set, and it's do we have a name of who that is?
Let me see.
And it's heartbreaking, and it's
awful,
devastating, and I feel like so bad because last I looked, a name hadn't been released.
Right. I don't think so, but I do know that they're investigating it because
Okay.
it was kind of a crazy situation. But yeah.
Okay. But yeah, we just wanted to acknowledge that that was a thing that happened, and be as respectful as possible. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up Broadway news. So today's main topic is underrated musicals.
Which are some of my favorite musicals.
Absolutely.
So,
do you want to take it away?
Sure. So I have a top 5 favorite musicals ever. Just not even like Broadway, just like in general favorite musicals. And that list is Company, Assassins, West Side Story, because I'm nothing if not consistent with my love for Sondheim. Bandstand and Catch Me If You Can. So obviously my last two are like two of the most, in my opinion, underrated musicals ever. I love Bandstand and Catch Me If You Can so much. And I cannot for the life of me, because when I was texting you about this, I was like, I want to go over like why they're so underrated. Like there's, because I know that there's a reason for a lot of them, like why they didn't get as much like hype as other shows. But for the life of me, for Catch Me If You Can, I can't figure it out. Like I was racking my brain trying to figure out, I was Googling like anything. I could not.
Why Catch Me If You Can is so underrated?
Yeah, like why it was.
Well, I can tell you right now.
What?
It's because it came out in the same year or in the same season as Book of Mormon, so it got completely swept under the table, and everybody was only paying attention to Book of Mormon. Yes, Norbert Leo Butz won for Best Lead Actor in a Musical.
As he should have.
Yeah, but people didn't care about Catch Me If You Can. It was the same thing that happened in 2016 with Hamilton. Nobody cared about one of the ones I'm going to talk about. Nobody cared about a lot of the shows. They only wanted to see the giant musical that happened.
And it's like, and with one of my favorites, Bandstand, in 2017, it got overshadowed by Dear Evan Hansen. And I think that that's, I don't want to say ironic, because it's not really ironic. It's just like, it's interesting to me because you have two very different shows, both about mental illness in their own way and just mental health in general in their own way. And I thought it was so interesting. Like, I think it's so interesting because like Dear Evan Hansen showcases all these different people with different mental illness or different ways that mental illness has impacted their lives. And then it's set in modern day, mostly teenagers, and mostly the stories of teenagers and their parents and that kind of thing. And then you have Bandstand, which is set post World War II, like immediately after World War II, dealing with veterans dealing with PTSD in their own ways that then lead on to other mental health issues, which is something that I care a lot about. Bandstand really spoke to me for a lot of different reasons. But with Bandstand, I think it isn't discussed enough, considering it is the only theatrical production to ever be Got Your Six certified, which means that it is an accurate portrayal of what veterans go through post anything. So like with PTSD and everything. And so I think it's just so interesting that that gets overshadowed by a lot of things. Like I think that it's interesting that nobody discusses that.
I'm about to make a claim that might be completely just nothing, but it's something that I am personally curious to see if this has anything to do with it. But the idea of Bandstand opening in early 2017, right after Trump was inaugurated, well, not right after, but like a couple months after, there was this whole, I don't want to say anti-America mentality, but there was this like, we don't feel right supporting something like that. Personally, I mean, yeah, well, it is a known fact that after Biden was just elected, many more people felt comfortable putting an American flag in front of their house, because for the past 4 years, it's felt tainted.
I don't know if you saw that stuff too, but like I saw like on TikTok and Twitter and stuff, a lot of veterans felt more comfortable putting an American flag out when Biden won, because they felt like there was finally someone who understood and who would work for them and who would actually help them with everything that they've been through.
Yeah. And that's something that I have definitely felt. I can't say that that's the one of the reasons why Bandstand isn't a success.
I think it is.
It's this weird, like, yes, and it's like, we understand World War II was like forever. I mean, obviously not forever ago. There are still veterans who are living from it. But, you know, it was 2017 just felt a little, I mean, the past 4 years have felt a little tainted in regards to anything that, because it feels too nationalistic and like you're supporting something like that, which isn't how it should be.
Right. And like my whole thing with that is when a lot of people bring, because like I've seen that argument a lot, and I get it. I really do, because I struggled with that after Trump won. I really, truly did. And I've never really been patriotic anyways. 4th of July is one of my favorite holidays just because I think it's camp. Like I just think 4th of July
it is. 4th of July is very camp.
It is, and I love anything camp. So I've never been very patriotic, but there are parts of me that I love America. I really truly do. And so I struggled a lot with things after Trump won the election in 2016. But I'm going to say right now, Bandstand made me feel so much better about human beings in this country. And I just, like, I had so much more faith in humanity after I saw Bandstand. And I think that needs to be discussed more.
I agree. I think when it comes to World War II in general, it's truly the last time that the world really saw a undisputed evil that was more cut and dry. I mean, obviously there are so many nuances to World War II, so much happened, but it was very much like one understood evil, Allies versus Axis, defeat Axis, and then hooray.
Right.
That's putting it in the most simplest of terms. Whereas, you know, Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, everything in between is kind of been more about like it has been less cut and dry. And more people have been
Vietnam, especially Vietnam.
And more people have been less likely to support the government's decision on those things. Right. Whereas I feel like in World War II, all of America was like, yes, let's go, let's defeat. Whereas now it's like, hey, hold up a second, what's actually going on here?
Right, for sure. And I feel like it's just like, because for me personally, Bandstand did a lot for me. Because I thought it was so interesting to see, because like I don't know a lot about PTSD in war vets. Like I struggle with PTSD, but it's for completely different things. I'm not going to compare trauma because, you know, trauma is trauma, and I feel like you're valid in any way that you deal with it and are treating it and everything. But it was interesting to see that the discussion that was being had about PTSD wasn't as cut and dry as most people have it. It wasn't, oh, you have PTSD, you just get nightmares sometimes. You just like get these flashes sometimes. Whereas PTSD is actually, you do have nightmares, you do get flashes, you do have those issues, but it leads to other mental health issues. Like you have characters who have OCD because of it. You have characters who have severe anxiety to the point of where the only way that can solve that is through alcoholism. You have characters who live and breathe in their passion because the only thing keeping them sane is their music, is, you know, all these different things. And I think that it was so interesting to see that, because normally whenever you have a piece of media that shows PTSD, and especially war vets, because no one discusses PTSD about other things as much as they should, but you never really see PTSD and war vets being displayed in a way that feels right, that feels realistic and feels raw in any way. And I think Bandstand did it so well in every aspect of the show. And the fact that they honored a different veteran each performance, and they still did that in the national tour. And I think that it's just like, I don't know, I just feel like Bandstand is so much better than people think it is.
Absolutely. And what I think is also so amazing about Jill and I, you and I have both seen Bandstand.
It was my first Broadway show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It was, so I saw it on my birthday in 2017, which was so exciting. But something I love about Bandstand also is it shows how the arts can help heal. Yeah. Obviously not completely heal, but can help put you, like Jill said, focusing into a different direction, channeling your anxieties, your stressors into the arts, I think is something that it showed and that it did well. I also love that it was like the only original musical that season.
It was right, like it's just, it was so good. And the whole thing with channeling everything into the arts, it also, I grew up hyper fixating on things, especially like artistically, like with musicals and TV shows and movies and things. And so I never felt like I was normal because of that. Like I never thought that that was a normal thing growing up. People always thought I was like weird and insane for having hyperfixations, and people still do. But like honestly, I don't even care anymore, because I'm like, this is the only thing getting me through life. So like I'm gonna continue doing it. And so after seeing Bandstand, it kind of solidified for me that it's because of, you know, all of my anxiety. It's because of my depression. It's because of, you know, all these different things that I do that. It's not just because, oh, because I have nothing else to do, why not hyperfixate on this? It's because it's the only thing that keeps me happy.
Yeah, I did say it was the only original musical that year. Dear Evan Hansen was original. So that was a giant slip of the
brain. I fully believed you too. I was like, oh my god, yes, it was. I'm such an idiot.
Well, because I was thinking about like Groundhog Day, Come From Away, Comet, War Paint. I was thinking about everything else that wasn't Dear Evan Hansen. But yes, Dear Evan Hansen was the other original musical that season. Yeah. But something I do think that might have also contributed to it not being as popular as we would like it to be. It came out 2016. Okay, the 2015-2016 season had Hamilton in it, and that kind of, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, kind of destroyed Broadway for a second.
No, absolutely.
With people wanting to buy tickets to only Hamilton. But then the next season, we had obviously not as big of a juggernaut, but a rather big one in Dear Evan Hansen come out.
Dear Evan Hansen was huge.
And so having those two back to back kind of took all of the attention.
Right. And my whole thing with, and this is gonna sound, I might sound like a whiny brat when I say this, so like stop me if I do, but like whenever you were talking about how like post 2016 election people really didn't want to like focus in on like America and, right, and so
it was embarrassing.
But my argument is Hamilton was still just as popular.
Okay, Hamilton came out before the election though.
But it was still just as popular post-election.
But it yes, I agree. But it kind of showed, okay, obviously there's more, it's more nuanced than this. And of course atrocities happened in the formation of the United States.
Yep.
I don't want to take away from that at all. To all of the indigenous people of this land, to every person of color in this land, atrocities happened. However, with growing up in the American school system, you are taught so much about these figures and these founding fathers. Why am I putting quotes? They are literally called the founding fathers.
But they didn't found anything. So I usually do it too. Like, I'm like, the founding fathers. What did you found? Like,
well, they founded the government of this country. Truly.
They didn't do a great job.
Well, I mean, they did as best as they could for the time being. It truly was. Yeah. Anyway, but I think with Hamilton, it was, you were seeing how something that was such, in the eyes of the American school system, this perfect thing, the founding of this quote unquote perfect nation, or in order to form a more perfect nation.
Yeah.
You were seeing how it was just as flawed, how the people could be just as flawed. And I think that making them into real people is part of why Hamilton was so successful. That mixed with the music, mixed with the fact that it kind of exploded at the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016, and it really put this like, everybody's so excited. And then around then is when Hillary got the nomination, and we were so excited for what could happen. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I think that it had such a build that it kind of kept going. Obviously, now it's kind of died down because it's been 5 years. But also, personally, I mean, I know that you and I have different opinions on Hamilton, but personally, I love the show. I think it's excellent. I think the way it's structured, I think the way it's written, I think it's perfect. And so,
like, I want to say this too. I don't absolutely hate Hamilton. I just have my issues with it. So I don't want anyone to think that like I hate it to the point of where I'm gonna like sit there and yell at people who love it so much, because like I've discussed it with people who love it so much. Like I'm pretty sure I've discussed it with Katie, like the reasons I don't like it.
I've seen it 5 times.
Right. And so it's like, you know, I've discussed it with all these people who absolutely love it. And so like I just have my own differing opinions about it. And I know for a fact that like all of my friends who love it so much, they understand it, and they are like, you know, you're fully valid in those feelings.
And I get it.
They're fully valid in loving the show. Like I don't, you know, it's kind of just a personal thing.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw the show, it was March of 2016. It was on Broadway. At intermission, I went, apparently, because for whatever reason, and it's because they're so old, in Broadway theaters, there is one bathroom. Yeah. And so I had to like run down, and there was a woman, an older woman, who was like 2 or 3 people in front of me, and she was just turning back. She's like, you know what? It's just not for me. And I was like, oh, okay. They're a little nutty, but okay. And you know what? So be it. There are people who just, it's not for them. They like the classic. I think another thing that really made me love it was the references to to musical theater because I love that Lin-Manuel Miranda is such a theater nerd.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it was like one of us wrote this.
Right.
So
I think also
I was such a giant In the Heights fan.
That's
In the Heights was my everything. Is my everything.
I like just thinking about other reasons why Bandstand may not be as popular as I want it to be. I was just thinking, it's definitely because I feel like this Bandstand is very like Jill as a musical because as you know, clearly Catch Me If You Can is one of my favorite musicals. I love musicals that are musicals, like that are like in your face, singing, dancing, doing all these things, and they sound like musicals. Like I love that because that's what I grew up loving, and so it's just been ingrained in me that like that's my favorite, like that's the kind of musicals that I love. Like Catch Me If You Can is like so in your face, and it's so like we're gonna do kick lines and we're gonna do like all these amazing dance sequences, and like I love that. I think that is so fun.
And it was also by the same people who did Hairspray.
Right, which I love. Like, I love Hairspray. And so like with Catch Me If You Can, I've never seen it in person. I need to preface this by saying that I've never seen Catch Me If You Can in person. I was supposed to go and see it at Arena Stage with Corbin Bleu this fall, and obviously that didn't happen. But I have never seen it in person. I have seen the bootleg because I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't watch bootlegs. I'm a human being. I don't care. If you're a cop, I don't watch bootlegs, but you're
the Actors Equity Association. I do not watch bootlegs.
I have never watched a bootleg in my life.
Whereas, I'm not gonna lie, I do not watch bootlegs. Right, personally, I don't.
Right, and I get like it's because where I grew up, not being able to see shows like hardly at all, and because like where I'm from and everything, and like they're expensive, like shows are expensive, and so where I didn't get to see shows for so long, and the only shows I really got to see were like community theater, children's theater, or which I still love. I'm not putting down any of that stuff because I think that stuff is so crucial in the arts in America, but
absolutely,
legs are kind of something that I need. And it's also, how often are you going to be able to see a show that ran for 8 months with the original cast? You can't see that again. Like there's no possible way for that. So like Catch Me If You Can bootleg, I don't care. I'm going to go watch it. Like it's an amazing
That's the exception I'll make. Like, right. Yes.
Like Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde I'll watch. I've seen the bootleg of How to Succeed in Business, I think, years ago. But like, I think when I was younger, I watched them a lot more because as I've gotten older, I've been able to see them more. So, but when I was younger, I couldn't. So that's how I watched like Spring Awakening and mainly Spring and Next to Normal, like the Next to Normal off-Broadway version. That's how like, and it's still so cemented in my brain, the Growing Up Unstable and Feeling Electric and like all the and Costco, all the songs that were cut, just like solid in here. That's how much I watched it.
Yes. Like that's like with Catch Me If You Can. I have the whole pre-Broadway run and the whole Broadway run in my head. I can perform it at a moment's notice, not even joking you. I could do the whole Doctor's Orders on my own as a one-woman show.
Yeah, Catch Me If You Can is very much like, this is Broadway.
Which I love, because Jerry Mitchell gets me. I feel like Jerry Mitchell understands me.
One day, maybe
like
next week. If
I were to meet Jerry Mitchell, we'd be like...
One day, maybe next week, Jill and I, the next episode is probably going to be about our favorite directors. Because we for sure have some that we are like, yep, that's it. That's the one. That's for us.
Hint, hint. Jill is obsessed with Alex Timbers beyond measure.
and I'm obsessed with Michael Arden. I love Michael Arden. Yeah, so Catch Me If You Can and Bandstand both got swept under the rug between juggernaut musicals.
especially because, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Aaron Tveit didn't get nominated for a Tony that year, and that really bothers me. Very, very, very much bothers me.
He has a Tony. No, he's gonna win the Tony this year.
Tony not now.
He's gonna win the Tony this year. I just love this.
But like, I'm such a one-track mind.
I just think it's so funny that like the circumstances of him winning his Tony are this.
Like we've said before, I don't think we've said it on here, but we've texted about it. He would not have gotten the nom if they didn't feel like he deserved it. Because like we said with 1985, no one got nominated because they didn't feel like anyone deserved it. And the fact that there were only 2 people eligible and he is the only one that got nominated speaks so much. So I think that says a lot too, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why he's gonna win. Oh my gosh. Fingers crossed. Have they announced a date yet?
No.
Oh my god, it's
like, I saw a tweet the other day. I can't remember who tweeted it. It's like someone. It's just someone.
Did the American Theater Wing just forget about it?
Right. Like I'm like I have no idea. But I saw someone on Twitter. I think it was yesterday. I saw it actually, and they were like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the Tony date gets announced the day of.
And they just recycle.
Like, right, because what is it? CBS is doing something in December that's like honoring theater. And so we're all just like, okay, well, when in December? Because is it the Tonys? Can someone tell me what is happening and when is this happening? Like, I need to, because I need that to be prepared. I need to be prepared for like a full day of anxiety leading up to that evening or that afternoon or whenever the hell they do it. Like,
the one good thing about it,
know to take my medicine.
the one good thing about it for me is that I'll be able to watch it live.
Oh,
instead of on a 3-hour delay. I've never been
on the East Coast. I forget about that. Like, and
it's not available to live stream anywhere ever. Mm-hmm. Even if you go on to like CBS and you like sign up for CBS All Access, I tried this last year. Sign up for CBS All Access, it still is just like, nope, sorry. That's a sucks to suck. You have to wait until it's 8:00.
What you
your time
is get a friend on the East Coast that has cable, and then log in to like something, or well, no, because I guess Sling would be like where you live, but do something that way. I don't know, because I use my friend's cable login for a lot of things.
Here's the thing. We're not going to have to worry about it when time comes because it's going to be virtual. So,
one good thing about 2020 is Katie can watch the Tonys live. As they're happening.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so should we talk about my underrated musical? The one I go back to is Bright Star. Yeah. Bright Star got swept away under the Hamilton season. It is, though, such a gorgeous show. Mm-hmm. There's some like weird controversy, not weird. There's some racist controversy around the initial casting of it, in which they said that all characters were Caucasian, which bullshit. Yeah, because apparently everybody in Asheville was white.
Not entirely true.
Yeah. The South, I don't think everyone is white. Anyway. And the thing is, like, there's nothing about that show that says these characters are white. Like, not that's just like one thing. That was just like the casting breakdown. They were like, all characters are Caucasian. And it's like, what? How? Why? Where in here? Yeah, and it's so dumb because none of the characters need to be.
That's like, you say that reminds me of the Moulin Rouge casting call. It literally says, we don't care what you look like. Like, it literally outright is like, we couldn't care less your like body type, when
when Comet was trying to get people to come be part of the Tony performance and just like sit on the sides, they were like, the more eccentric, the better. It was like in it. They're like, we want eccentric, like we want eccentric looking people, which I'm like, yeah, for Comet, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Me shows up. Hi.
Yeah.
The exact opposite of eccentric.
That's so good.
But yeah. So yes, Bright Star does have that disgusting history to that. The story itself has nothing to do with race, so I don't understand why Caucasian was part of it. It makes no sense. But it is a gorgeous story, beautiful score. The music in it, written by Edie Brickell and Steve Martin,
amazing.
Is so. It's the kind of music that I prefer. It's folk. And it's like,
is it like Big Fish kind of music?
Almost, but a little more
more twangy.
A little more twangy, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not so much this is Broadway as it is like, and it's because Edie Brickell is a songwriter in her own right. Like she is her, it's not like where Andrew Lippa writes for the stage. Edie Brickell is her own person. Kind of like think how Waitress is and how Sarah Bareilles is her own songwriter. That, but put in with like bluegrass.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the songs are more...
Because like Waitress is the music in Waitress is very singer-songwriter.
Yes.
And that shows because it's Sarah Bareilles. Mm-hmm. Whereas like with like Bright Star, it's kind of singer-songwriter meets folk.
Yes, and bluegrass because Steve Martin.
Right, obviously.
Which I love Steve Martin.
He's great. He's amazing.
He's also...
I watched Cheaper by the Dozen last week, and I was like, God, I love this movie. I was like, I love Steve
Martin. Our generation's first introduction to Steve Martin, Cheaper by the Dozen. And like Pink Panther.
We used to watch it in the car on road trips. We used to watch Cheaper by the Dozen. Me and my sisters did.
It's a great show. It's a great movie.
So good. It's so good.
It's a great movie. But
my dad would kill me if he heard me say that my first introduction to Steve Martin was Cheaper by the Dozen, because I'm sure he showed me something else as a kid.
Well, just like my first introduction to Eugene Levy was Cheaper by the Dozen too.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
I forget he was even in that. Oh my God. Oh, Eugene Levy.
A lot of my first introductions, just like my first introduction to Eddie Murphy, was Daddy Daycare. Like, these are my first introductions to these people, are when they did children's movies, like, for their kids. I mean, obviously, Steve Martin didn't have any kids at that point, but it's like, when these people make kids movies for their kids, that's my first introduction to them.
Yeah, I love that.
Anyway, Bright Star, it's this story that takes place in 2 time periods. So you have Alice, and you have her at like 16, and then you have her at like 36. And she goes back and forth, and she's this successful publisher at 36. But at 16, she had a little kid. Kid got taken from her by not only her father, but her boyfriend's parents also. Whole thing. But it's it's very, very sad, but not at the same time, because it's sad, but then it gets heartfelt. Yeah. But the music in it, I always return to the music in it because it is very... So I'm not a huge like country fan, and the music isn't country, but it's like bluegrass and folk. And it kind of has that same, this is Broadway, but it's not feel that Once has, that, you know, even Waitress has, that The Band's Visit has, where they are... The Band's Visit is phenomenal. And it's truly one of my favorite shows. I think it's absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. And when I saw it twice. I saw Carmen Cusack in the role of Alice, and it I have never seen a performer be so commanding and so absolutely 100% into a character. She was, not to sound like I'm making some sort of like reference, but she was the brightest star on that stage. She was a star in that role. And I think about her performance constantly. And the fact that that was her Broadway debut.
Is that like how I feel about Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I have never seen a person command a stage like I've seen her command a stage. She was perfect. And it's probably because she had been doing it for so long, and she was doing it on Broadway, and then she was doing it, I don't know if she did the whole tour, but she definitely was in LA. And
I didn't know she did that. Like, I didn't know she did like outside of Broadway. That's neat.
Yeah. I remember that when I went to see it with my mother on Halloween, it was 2017. The Dodgers were playing the Houston Trastros, the Houston Asterisks in LA. So we were 2 miles away from Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
And we were on like the end of the aisle, and my mom, like, from time to time, she'd take out her phone just to check the score of the game.
LA thing I've ever heard in my life, Katie.
But it wasn't just my mom. There was like a dad and a daughter in front of us, and the dad was doing the same thing.
Oh my god. I'd be lying if I said that, like, I haven't had the impulse to do that during a Yankees game. I would absolutely be lying if I said I hadn't had that impulse. I never have done it though, but I have had the impulse to do it before.
It was just like, I'm at the theater, but also baseball. Yeah. It was the first time the Dodgers had made it to the World Series in like forever.
Right.
And they should have won that year. They should have won that year because the Houston Trastros, the Houston Cheaters, cheated. Oh my God. Okay, side tangent. When the Dodgers won the World Series and then the commissioner of Major League Baseball came out to like give them the World Series trophy 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, dude got booed so hard.
As he should.
And they were in Texas too. Like, and it was full of Dodger fans. Like, I don't know if I'm sure there were some Tampa fans, but dude got booed.
Wow. It's so funny because like whenever, this is gonna sound so stupid. I was going to Bed Bath & Beyond one day. This was like a couple months ago. Like I was looking for a new body pillow and I needed to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. And I was wearing my Yankees jersey, my Judge jersey. And this was when I was back home in Kentucky. And some guy like booed at me from the parking lot of Bed Bath & Beyond because I was wearing a Yankees jersey. And I turned around. Do you know what he was wearing? What? He was wearing an Astros t-shirt. And so I said, I bet you cheat on your wife too, because his wife was with him. I said that.
No.
And then I ran into Bed Bath & Beyond.
How embarrassing to be an Astros fan.
How embarrassing to be an Astros fan and have the audacity to boo at someone else. Like,
oh my God.
I was so stressed and I was like texting my sister. I was like, you won't believe what just happened to me.
Wait. Where was this? Was this in Virginia or Kentucky?
This is in Lexington, Kentucky.
Home of Walker Buehler, the only Dodgers pitcher I trust.
Yeah, home of a lot of basketball players people probably know. Katie and I have talked about that too.
Yeah.
A lot of them are ones that she knows.
As much as Jill and I love Broadway, we also love baseball.
I love baseball.
And weirdly, a lot of people come out of the South and come out of Kentucky and
well, because Kentucky's big with basketball, with sports in general.
Yeah.
Fun.
But oh my God. But yeah, so that was my story with Bright Star. I ended up actually seeing it twice in 1 week because fun fact, so the same time that Bright Start was in LA. Musical Theater West was doing a production of In the Heights at Cal State Long Beach. And my friend Olivia, who, to circle it back to baseball, she was interning for the Dodgers in the postseason.
Yeah.
So she was there for Game 7 when she was. I'm gonna have to ask her about that one day. She'll be like, "Hey, how did you hear the garbage cans banging?" I have so many questions to ask her.
I love that.
I need to know these answers. Anyway, so she is a big fan of, not as big of a fan as you and I are of Broadway, but she is a fan of Broadway. And so she was a big fan of Hamilton, and she wanted to see In the Heights. So I said, oh, let's go see In the Heights. We haven't seen each other in forever. Let's go see In the Heights. So I drove from my house to Covina to Long Beach, back to Covina. And then I think I picked my friend up at the train station in Covina. And then I went right back out to LA. And then I saw 2 shows in one day, and I just was bouncing around LA County. I'm like, all right, Covina, Long Beach, Covina, downtown LA. And it was great. It was fun. I love a 2-show day. Love a 2-show day. Love getting to hang out with 2.
That's on my bucket list, is to do a 2-show day. That's on my bucket list. I want to do it.
I've done it not far too many times. I've done it.
I think it's going to happen when Broadway reopens. I think that'll be my best opportunity to do it, because I feel like that'll just make me the happiest woman on the planet. It's like the first day that I get to see a show again. I'm just going to see 2 in one day.
You haven't?
Mm-mm.
Huh. I would have thought that you would have when you were in New York. I thought that you would have when you were in New York last summer.
Last summer, all I saw was Waitress and Moulin Rouge.
Really?
Yeah, we were going to see, it was funny, my friend this is such a stupid story, but it makes me laugh every time I think about it. We were at Broadway in Bryant Park. It was our second to last day in the city. And this was my best friend's first time in New York City, her first time seeing shows, all that stuff. So it was super fun. And we were at Broadway in Bryant Park the day that Pretty Woman was performing, because I wanted to see the Pretty Woman performance, because I love Pretty Woman. And Brendan Hunt was going to be performing with Jillian Miller, because they were the replacement Vivian and Edward.
Jillian Mueller, I saw her as Vivian after Samantha Parks ran off stage to puke.
Which is one of my favorite stories that Katie has. I love that story.
I've seen so much. I'm so blessed to have seen so much theater that I've seen weird stuff happen, but only within the last 2 years.
Which I think is so funny. But we were at Broadway and Bryant Park sweating our asses off. It was so hot. And we get halfway into one of the songs, and my friend next to me, I'm recording the performance, and my friend goes, hey, I'm gonna get 2 tickets to tonight's show. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, because they're super cheap. She's like, I found really cheap tickets, orchestra seats. She's like, let's just go see it. And I had already seen Pretty Woman with my mom that past Thanksgiving, and which was the best. We had the most fun at that show. I had such a blast at that show.
I can't say the same.
I was like, what are you talking? I was like, I'm broke. I can't afford another show. She's like, I'll pay for it. She's like, it's fine. We'll just go. And I was like, what are you saying? We never do this. We never impulsive about something like that ever. And so I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, look, you can get tickets for $65 a piece, orchestra seats. They're super good. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, why are we doing this? And I was like, if you want to spend your money on it, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to be mad about it. And then she put them all, and it was through Ticketmaster. So she had put it all in there, and then she goes, wait, I forgot that this is Ticketmaster. We're not going. I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
So hard because in the recordings that I took of the performance, you can hear us talking about it. And it's one of my favorite things on the planet, because I'll look back at those videos and I'm like, oh, there's Mary Beth almost impulse buying tickets to Pretty Woman that very night.
When I went to Broadway and Bryant Park when I was in New York last summer too, and it was I really scored with who was performing, because it was the cast of Come From Away, the greatest show to ever exist ever, Beetlejuice,
Oh, that's good.
Chicago, Shoshana Bean in Waitress, Jersey Boys. I can't remember who else was there. I think that I don't remember how many shows were there. But yeah, so that was Broadway and Bryant.
3 the day I was there. No, I'm not.
That was Broadway and Bryant Park, but it was raining that day.
Ooh.
And so, or it was kind of like off and on rain. It was like drizzly. It was wet
really
outside.
Rainy last summer. It was really, really rainy last summer.
Yeah, it was wet out, so we couldn't go on the lawn. So everybody was just on the sidewalk, and that was cramped and crowded. And I still cried during Me in the Sky because that song will make me cry.
I was like, it was so funny because I love Brennan Hunt. I think he's such an interesting voice. Like, I love listening to him sing. Like, I love listening to the Rent Live, like, recording because I love his voice. There's something about it. I'm just obsessed with it. And so whenever I found out he was in the replacement cast, I got super excited. I think that was part of the reason that my friend almost impulse bought the tickets is because she knew how much I love Brennan Hunt and his voice and everything. And I feel like his voice is just very suited for Edward in Pretty Woman. I think that him and Andy Karl are very similar in that. Like, both of them were just perfectly cast for it. But I told her, like, after we left and everything, I was like, I heard the 3 songs I wanted to hear him sing as Edward. I was like, I didn't need to see it on stage. I was like, it would have been nice, but it wasn't necessary. Like, I was like, but honest to God, though, 10 out of 10 recommend Brennan Hunt as Edward. Pretty Woman without having seen it. He sang those songs well. And Jillian Mueller, she was amazing. She's such a good voice. She was good. I saw Samantha Barks too, so I love both of them. I love Pretty Woman. I don't care. I love it. I think it's fun. I love it. But I also
can't say the same.
I also grew up watching the movie with my mom, so like getting to see it with my mom, I think added to it, and I think that's part of the reason why I love it so much. But
fair. I thought the songs were boring. I felt half of the songs felt unfinished. And I didn't even see Andy Karl in the role. I saw Adam Pascal.
And I'm so jealous. Literally, you were texting me and you were like, should I see? I don't even remember what the other options were.
It was between like King Kong and Pretty Woman and the Cher Show.
Yeah, because you were like, should I try and see King Kong again? Because it was after like the whole mishap.
This was before. This was in January. And then the mishap happened in July.
That's right. So you were like, should I try for King Kong or Pretty Woman or Cher Show? And I was like, well, Adam Pascal's in Pretty Woman right now. And I was like, and how often are you going to get a chance to see Adam Pascal in a 1-week run of a Broadway show?
I've seen Adam Pascal far too many times.
Well, yeah, but like that was the thing. It's because whenever I said that, you were like, oh, I love Adam Pascal. And I was like, oh, just continue to murder my soul because I am jealous. Like, I was like,
I've seen Adam Pascal so many times. I saw him in this Rent tour. I saw him in Disaster. And I saw him twice as Shakespeare in Something Rotten on tour. I've seen Adam Pascal. I've seen Adam Pascal so many times.
And now I've seen him in Pretty Woman. Rotten for one of my birthdays. My sister was going to take me. And then something like...
That's another show that's slept on. Something Rotten.
It is.
Like the Broadway community loves it. Yeah. The Broadway community loves it. But anyway.
But I was supposed to see it because the tour fell on my birthday. Like the tour that was coming to like Cincinnati or Louisville fell on my birthday. And so my sister was like, oh my God, yeah, let's freaking go.
Is Cincinnati close to you?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
like you traveling out of the idea of traveling out of state to see a show and then like coming back home, I'm like trying to put it into perspective because
the West Coast is not the same.
Nope. Because you go one way, you're in the desert. You go one way, you're in the ocean.
Yeah.
California's a big state.
I literally, though, I was so upset because we were going to see, I was in a movie theater. I vividly remember this. I was at the movies seeing something. I think it was actually when I was seeing, She Loves Me in theaters. I don't remember what it was. I was seeing something in theaters and I got like a notification on Twitter or something, or someone saying that like the Something Rotten tour was coming to Cincinnati, whatever. And then it was like, happened to fall on my birthday when it was going to be there. And I told my sister, because we figured out like we could get tickets for like $50 a piece and like not bad seats either. And she was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then something happened and that never happened. But then she paid for our tickets to see Company at Barrington Stage. And so it made up for it. I wasn't mad about it. Like, I was like, I'm fine with this. It's a good exchange. because that was that production means a lot to me. That was, oh girl.
Yeah.
That hit different.
Yeah. Yeah. Something Rotten is another one that's slept on.
Yes.
I think Broadway fans love it, but then people just like forgot about it. Which I get, but
my cousins at their dance recital, I guess it was last year or the year before, they did a routine from like To Something Rotten. I can't remember what song it was, but if I remember correctly, my cousin was like Shakespeare in the production. And
was it Hard to Be the Bard?
His little sister, was it which one?
Was it Hard to Be the Bard? I feel like that one would be a nice like dance song.
I think so, but I can't remember. But then it was funny because like his little sister had to be one of the girls in the number, and it was so funny because she hated it. She's like, I hate having to be like excited to see him. And I was like, what?
That's called acting, honey.
Right? I was like, you need to be a good actress, and she was like, I don't like it. I was like, okay. It made me laugh so hard.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's wrap this mother up. So, Jill, where can people find us?
On Instagram and TikTok, we are at Thoughts Shared Podcast. On Twitter, we are at Thoughts Shared _. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. If you want to find me individually, I'm on Instagram at Complete Katie. I am not on Twitter because Twitter makes me anxious, but I am on TikTok.
I'm about to pull myself off Twitter because
I'm also on TikTok at Katiefornia, which is California, but without the Cala, it's Katie. Yeah.
And I'm at It's Jill Hayes on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Yeah.
Facebook?
Everywhere. Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
All right.
I'm going into a career of social media. I have to have Facebook too.
That's true. But yeah, if you guys would like, please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. We like making it. We have fun little conversations. But yeah, until next time, goodbye.
Bye.